afternoon, students. This is the lecture for Banking Paper 5. In the last lecture, we discussed about the syllabus as there are 5 units and that 5 units are bifurcated into 11 chapters. We started with our chapter number 1. In that chapter number 1, we discussed about the definition of bank. Then we discussed the constitute of Indian banking system. As we discussed in our last lecture, Indian banking system is bifurcated in 2 categories. First is the unorganized sector and second is the organized sector. In unorganized sector, no bifurcation is there. Common examples are the money lenders. The organized sector is bifurcated into 4 categories. First is public sector bank. Second is commercial bank. Third is cooperative bank. And the last is development bank. As we discussed in our last lecture, public sector banks are further categorized in 4 categories. In that, we discussed first Reserve Bank of India, then SBI and associate banks, then we discussed nationalized bank, and last one we discussed about the RRB, regional rural banks. The next bifurcation of the organized sector is commercial bank. Commercial bank is bifurcated into 2 categories, scheduled bank and non-scheduled bank. The banks which are listed under the second schedule of RBI are called the scheduled bank, and the bank which are not listed under the second schedule of RBI are non-scheduled bank. Then we discussed about the cooperative bank. As I discussed with the help of diagram in the last lecture, 3-tier structure of the cooperative bank. The bottom level is primary agricultural credit societies. The middle level is district cooperative bank. And the top level is the state cooperative bank. The district cooperative bank is also called the central cooperative bank. That central cooperative bank is a link between the state cooperative bank and primary cooperative credit societies. And lastly, we discussed about the development banks, working for the development objective of a different sectors. As we discussed about the Industrial Development Bank, in the field of industrial development, IDBI is the apex bank. Then we discussed about the Agricultural Bank. In the field of development of agricultural, NABARD is playing the role of apex bank. Then we discussed about the Export-Import Bank. For the development of export and import in behalf of the India, Exim Bank is performing the duty of the apex bank. And lastly, we discussed about the National Housing Bank. For the development of national housing sector, NHB is playing the role of apex bank. For the development of small industries, SIDBI, SIDBI, SIDBI is playing the role of apex bank. We discussed this topic in detail, constitute of Indian banking system. Then we start our new topic in the last lecture, and the topic is role of banking system in economic development. As I already mentioned in my last lecture, this question is very IMP from the examination point of view. As you can see in my PPT, This question is asked so many times in Vinesh exams. We started the topic in last lecture. Just to continue, we are going to revise the topic. The role of the banking system for the development of Indian economy is categorized in 11 points. First point is mobilization of savings. Second, providing credit facilities to developing sector. Third, financing for foreign trade and foreign exchange. Fourth, introduction of social banking. Fifth, reducing regional disparities. Next, maintaining the reasonable price stability. Next, development of money market and capital market. Next, improvement in consumer services. 10th, bank and financial inclusion. And the last point is improved facility of training and education. Now let us explain all the points in detail. The first point is mobilization of savings. As we discussed, for the economic of any developing country, investments are playing a vital role. If any country requires the rapid economic development, so this is the basic condition that there must be high rate of investment. And again, the investment is depend on the saving. So ultimately, we can say that the rapid economic development is depends on savings. If savings are there, then only people are able to invest the money somewhere, and then only the economic development is possible. Now the question arises, how banks are playing the role in mobilization of savings? So the banks are playing the vital role via two ways. On the first hand, bank promotes the banking habit amongst the public. So the idle money with them can be converted into a productive use. And on the other hand, by increasing the saving habit, the banker is also provide the fund to the needy people to satisfy the needs and to invest some money in somewhere else. So bankers are doing these two types of facilities. Bankers are performing these two types of functions for the development of economy via mobilizing the savings. Some of the data are given in the last. In the year of 1969 and 70, the rate of percentage of mobilization of savings is 16.5% of GDP, which increased to 30.6% in the year of 2013 and 14. The second point is by providing credit facilities to developing sector of economy. Here in India, some of the sectors are in the priority list, means they are not the developed sector, they are developing sector. And to convert that sector into the developed one, they require more attention. That attention should be in terms of money. Means these types of sectors are require more financial help for development. Adequate and timely availability of credit is very important for the development of those sectors. Be very careful. Adequate and timely availability. The credit availability is not a question for any sector. The question arises, the availability of credit should be adequate. Adequate means as per the requirement. It should not be more, it should not be less. And the very important is timely availability of the credit. The credit must be available at the time of need. If the credit is available after a particular period of time or after a passage of time, it is just meaningless. And the second point, the banks are playing the very important role of providing this credit at a reasonable rate of interest. If the banks are providing the credit in the priority sectors, the rate of interest is different, And if the banks are providing the credit in the developed sector, so the rate of the interest is different. The examples are given here. First, agricultural. Agriculture is in the list of priority sector. The data is given that the additional bank office which was opened in the last 4 decades is about, out of them 62% were opened in rural areas. The share of agricultural advance is 5.4% in the year of 1969, which increased to 12.5% in the year of March 2015. So the data shows how much the banks are concentrating on agricultural sector. Why? Because the agricultural sector are the priority sector for the development of economy. If the economic development is requirement of the country, so it is requirement that the bank should be focused on this sector. The second one is the industry. The provision of adequate working capital is the essential for the full utilization of available capacity of industry. If the working capital is more, so it is unnecessary blockage of capital. And if the working capital is less, so the industries are not able to perform the functions of production as per the time requirement. So it is necessary that the working capital should be in adequate manner. So the banks are providing the funds to maintain the working capital of industry in case of need. Not only for this, banks are also providing the capital for some special requirements. And that special requirements are expansion, modernization, and diversification. Examples are there. Some of the data are given that in the field of the industrial development, Industrial Finance Corporation of India, which is known as nowadays Industrial Development Bank of India, is playing a very important role. As we discussed earlier, IDBI, Industrial Development Bank of India, is playing the role of the apex bank in the field of development of industrial sector. And for the development of small industries, SIDBI is playing the role of the apex bank. Not only providing the credit, the banks are also helping the institutions by offering some merchant banking services. Merchant banking services examples are given like preparation of project report, quality control, and by providing some of the technical and managerial assistance. Means suppose a person is having the fund in a surplus manner, so much funds are there, but the person is not having the managerial quality, or the person is not having the experience of business, and if that person wants to start any type of business or any type of project, so some of the expert persons are there in bank who are ready to provide you the assistance. Of course, it is not free of cost, you have to pay the commission, but of course at a nominal rate. So same types of facilities are also provided by some of the private sectors in the market. But the rate of interest, the rate of commission is very high as compared to the bank. So the banks are playing a very important role for the development of the priority sectors. Now the third point, that how the banks are playing the important role in the development of economy is financing of foreign trade sector and foreign exchange services. Now, bank also provide the fund for the import and export activity of the country. Why? Because by managing these activities, the banks are able to manage the balance of payment. Suppose the balance of payment is adverse for a country. Adverse means the imports are more than the export. In that case, the financial assistance for the import activity, the rate of interest will be high. And the rate of interest of the financial assistance to the export activity will be low. Why? Because as the balance of payment is adverse, so now the bank wants to focus on export, so the balance of payment should be in favor of the country. The Exim Bank, Export Import Bank of India, is playing the role of the apex bank in this field. This bank was set up in the year of 1982. We learned all these banks, we learned about all these banks in S5. Next, introduction of social banking. Social banking means banking which is not for profit, but banking which is functioned by the bank for the development of economy, to provide the assistance to some of the priority sector, to do the help of some of the weaker sections. In recent year, the public sector bank in India have accepted the concept of the social banking, in which they are providing the credit on a priority basis or to the important sector of the economy. And which are the important sector? Mind well, not the developed one, but the weaker section are the important sector to provide the credit. Why? Because if the banks are providing the credit to the weaker section, then only that sections are able to develop. Means suppose if there are two loan applications with the bank, the first loan application is from the industrial one and the second loan application is from the agricultural one. In that case, if the fund is limited, then the bank will provide the credit facility to the agricultural one. Why? Because the agricultural sector require more fund compared to the industrial sector. As we discussed the word priority sectors, some of the examples of the priority sectors are given like agricultural, small scale and cottage industries, export sectors, food procurement, credit to transport operators, small and retail traders, small artists, self-employment to educated employed, and to the urban poor. Okay, in the bracket I have written OHRSEEMA. What is this? Now see in this slide. There are total 8 priority sectors. All the priority, or you can say all the priority sectors of the country is bifurcated into 8 categories. That 8 categories are: A means agricultural, M stands for MSME, micro, small and medium enterprise. E stands for export. Second, E stands for the education. H means housing. S stands for social infrastructure. R stands for renewable energy, and O means the other sectors. So this OHRSEMA is a short form to remember the name of the 8 priority sectors. If you remember this code, you are able to remember the name of the 8 priority sectors. Okay, next point is the reducing regional disparities. Banks are also providing the facility, or banks are also functioning the work to reduce the regional disparities so the country is able to do the economic development. Now, how the banks are performing this duty? Credit will be given according to the priority basis. Just focus on one thing. Whatever points we are discussing here, in all the points somehow the priority sectors are discussed. Means if we want the development of any country, so we have to focus on weaker section. If we want to reduce the regional disparity, if we want to focus on some of the important sectors, anything is there. So the in the center of all the thing, weaker section or the priority sectors are there. If any bank wants to do the social banking, or to focus on the import and export, or to provide the credit facility for the development sector, in all the thing we are going to discuss about the priority sectors. So all the points are in the all the points the priority sectors are the middle one. If we want to reduce the regional disparities, or suppose one state is a very developed one and then second state is an underdeveloped state. If we want to do the help of that particular underdeveloped state, or particular underdeveloped sector of the state, or a particular underdeveloped area or region, anything. So what we have to do as a bank? As a bank, we have to provide the credit to those types of sectors. This has to be achieved not so much by reducing the credit flow to the developed region, but by the measuring for the mobilization of deposit and the productive use of credit in the less developed sector. Now focus here. First thing, we have to provide the credit to the underdeveloped sector. Second thing, as a banker or as a bank, we have to check the end use of that credit. If the credit is going to use for a productive purpose, then only the bank is able to reduce the regional disparities. If the credit given by the bank to the underdeveloped sector is going to be used for unproductive use, like marriage of daughter or any social function, so the bank is not able to reduce the regional disparities. So two things are important for that. First thing, the timely availability of credit to those types of sector, and second thing, the use of the credit. The credit must be used for a productive purpose. The next point is promotion of entrepreneurship. Sometimes we can observe that, like in India, as India is a developing country, in there some of the persons are there, or some of the major problem in the persons are there, that they are having the fund but they are not having the entrepreneurship ability. As I said earlier, if person is having the fund but the person is not having the experience of business, and that type of person is want to enter in the market, so how that type of person can start the business? Of course the guidance is required. So who are going to guide to that type of person? So of course some of the private sectors are there in the market, but again the charges are very high. So of course it is not profitable for the starting one. And now what to do? So we can take the help of the merchant bank department of the banks. These types of department or these types of bank are ready to help the persons in any way. Suppose like you don't know how to prepare the project report, the expert person is going to guide you. If you are having all the knowledge, like suppose you are having the project report, you are having the expert person, you are having the proper credit, you know about the marketing, but you are not able to decide the proper place for your business, so the bank is going to guide you. If you require any types of technical and managerial person, so of course the bank is going to guide you. Bank is also going to do the marketing activity of your business, when again you have to pay. But what is the main profit here? The differential interest rate, means the discounted interest rate, means the substantial interest rate. You are going to avail this all services at a discounted rate. Examples are given like small traders, artists, weavers, blacksmith, tailor, cobbler. Suppose a tailor wants to start a small shop and he are not able to decide the location. He is expert in the cloth of children. So he is not able to decide at what place I have to start. So of course the bank is going to guide the person, as the person is in the field of the priority sector. So by doing this function, banker is able to develop the entrepreneurship ability, or to provide the entrepreneurship ability to some persons. So the person is able to start the business or to settle in the market, and again the promotion of that entrepreneurship ability is going to result in the development of the economy. The next point is the maintaining reasonable price stability. The fluctuation in price is a hurdle in the development of country. It is very important that the price fluctuation should be in control. There should not be a wide fluctuation in the market in the short run. The fluctuation may arise in the long run, but the price should be stable in the short run. Suppose the inflationary situations are there in the market. So in that situation, what the banker has to do, banker will direct the flow of credit to the productive investments only, and the banker will stop to provide the fund to the unproductive purpose, and the rate of interest will be high. So ultimately the supply of money is going to be reduced by in the market via bank. So suppose if the situation is adverse, depression is there in the market. In that case, what the banker will do, banker will reduce the rate of interest. If the rate of interest is low, more persons are ready to ask for a loan. If they are ready to purchase a loan, so the fund of supply of fund in the market is going to increase, and ultimately they are able to invest the money in somewhere else. They are able to purchase some of the things. So the flow of credit will be, the flow supply of money will be increased, and ultimately the country is able to make itself out of from the clutches of the depression. So in case of inflation and depression, how the banks are playing an important role to maintain the price stability. So the one of the main objective is that growth should be there with the stability. By undertaking the suitable changes in the rate of interest, as I said, in case of inflation, the rate of interest will be high, but in case of depression, the rate of interest will be low. By providing the credit for the essential term in short supply, there are the suitable changes in margin requirement of the person is going to be changed, and ultimately the banks are able to control the credit or the flow of money in the market. The next point is development of money market and capital market. I hope you are able to, I hope you are familiar with the word money market and capital market. Banks are playing a very important role for the development of money market and capital market. Money market, so we can understood as the bank is also a part of the money market. So we are able to understood these topics that bank is performing the functions for the development of money market. But how the banks is performing the functions for the development of capital market? The question may arise in your mind. So the answer is there, the banks are playing the role of an agent of the capital market. How? That as we discussed earlier, banks are also providing the merchant banking services. Suppose a person is having the surplus money and that person wants to purchase the share, but he is not having any idea about the share market. So in the field of merchant banking services, the merchant banking department of the bank is going to guide you to invest in shares. So in behalf of you, the decisions are taken by some of the expert person of the merchant banking department. And in exchange of that, you have to pay the nominal charges. So as an agent, banker is indirectly contributing for the development of capital market. Not only this, the second indirect aspect is that the banker provide credit to the person. Banker is able to control the flow of credit. If the flow of credit is more, if the banker provide more money in the market, so the persons are able to invest the money in the market. Suppose at a time the projection is there, the future prediction is that there should be invest in capital market, the profit will be high. The person wants to invest in the market, the person wants to purchase the money, but the person is not having the amount, the person is not having the savings. So in that case, some of the person will ask for an overdraft facility. So the banker is there to provide the facility to invest in the share market. So by this example, I hope it may clear to you that how the banks is performing the functions for the development of money market and capital market. For the development of just focus here, development of money market is directly related with the bank, but the development of capital market is indirectly related with the bank. As we know, in case of money market, the RBI is the apex bank, Reserve Bank of India. So we can say the development of money market is in the control of bank. But in the field of capital market, SEBI is there. SEBI is the apex bank. SEBI's guidelines have to be followed by the capital market. So now here all the banks are performing the indirect role for the development of capital market. The next point is improvement in consumer services. Indian Bank offered the following services to the account holder at the specific branches, like multi-city and payable at par check facilities, anywhere and anytime banking facilities. Of course, this is all about the e-banking facilities. As we know that nowadays the concept of e-banking is very popular. Persons are using the banking facilities, not especially the educated persons are using the internet facilities, the e-banking facilities more as compared to the uneducated persons. We all are using credit cards, we all are using debit cards, we all are using the ATMs, we all are transferring the funds via using RTGS and NEFT facilities, we are using the mobile app of the bank, we are using the internet banking facilities and real-time gross settlement, the RTGS. All these things we are using. This is not the compulsory duty of a bank. This is not in the rules of the Banking Regulation Act. The banker can perform the duty of banking activity without providing these facilities also. Now the question arises that why the banks are going to provide you these types of facilities. So this is for the improvement in consumer services to satisfy the consumers more. If now suppose a bank is there nowadays who is not providing any e-banking facilities. So as a customer, are you interested to open the account in that type of bank? Of course not. So nowadays, according to the competition, if the banker want to survive in the market, so it is compulsorily that the bank should be provide these types of additional facilities to the consumer. Be focused here, I am using the word additional. These all are the additional facilities provided by banker to the customer. These all are not the necessary one according to the Banking Regulation Act. So by providing these types of facilities, suppose I want to invest in the share market just now. If I invest just now, then there is a chances to get the profit. But suppose it is a Sunday, then I'm not able to use the banking services. Why? Because Sunday is the close day for a bank. Then how to get the money? So we can use our cards. We can use the internet banking facilities. We can transfer the fund via using RTGS, NEFT, IMPS. So if these types of facilities are there, of course the flow of money will be increased. If the flow of money will be increased, so the ultimately the development of the economy is possible. So this additional facility which provided by the banks ultimately going to contribute in the development of the economy. The next point is the bank and financial inclusion. What do you mean by you are familiar with the word bank, but what do you mean by financial inclusion? The financial inclusion means those banks, those areas where banks are not available, under the banked or unbanked areas, to connect those types of areas with the banking facilities. That is the main objective of financial inclusion. Whenever here we are using the financial inclusion word, it means the bank wants to connect those areas where banks are not available to the banking facilities. It may happen that banks are available there, but the number of branches are less. So it is known as the underbanked areas. It is not unbanked, but underbanked. According to the number of people living there, the number of branches of a bank or the number of banks are less. Per person banking facilities are less. So the objective of financial inclusion is to provide the financial services at affordable cost to those who are excluded from the financial system. And why the person is excluded from the financial system? Because the facilities of banks are not available at their place. But the question arises, it must be the facility must be provided at an affordable cost. Suppose you start a branch at rural areas and you are providing the funds at a high rate of interest to cover your establishment charges, establishment expenses, and to pay the salaries. As the number of customers in the rural areas are less, the amount of deposit is less, and the maintenance cost is very high. So you increase the rate of interest as a bank. Of course, it is not possible to survive. It is not possible to attract the customer and to increase the number of customer of a bank. Why? Because the cost is very high. So it is important that you have to provide the banking facilities to the customer, but at the affordable cost. In recent years, there has been a growing emphasis by the government and the Reserve Bank of India on providing formal financial services to the unbanked and the underbanked areas. Formal services means at least the basic services should be provided to those types of areas. The plan should be broadly contain a combination of self-set targets and strategies from the year of 2010. And the last point for the topic, improved facility of training and education. Okay. As we discussed earlier, if the person is having the money, if the person is having everything but not having the ability, not having the entrepreneurship ability, not having the knowledge, so the bank is there to provide you. But it is not possible that you are getting the facility of merchant banking for whole life of your business. If you are doing so, the cost of running your business in the long run is going to be increased. If you want to cut down that cost, so what is important? Training is important. The training to your employee is also provided by the bank. Secondly, the bank is also provide the education to the employees of the banks also. The problem of the establishment of any institution or firm or industry of the company is not to solve the funds only, but it is necessary that the institution must be having the intelligent manager, the qualified manager also. As I said, just to provide the credit is not enough. If we are having the skills or ability, then only we can survive in the market. Then for that purpose, bank can provide the services of the merchant banking as well as the loan. Means banker are also providing the loan and banker is also providing the merchant banking services. Plus banker is also providing the training facilities to your employees as short-term education to your employees. Banks try to uplift the standard by giving such type of schemes and programs. So we can say by providing the skills and technology or training and short-term education to your employee, ultimately bank is going to help you to develop the business. If your business is developed, then ultimately our economy is going to be developed. So indirectly bank is helping to develop the economy. So these all types of functions, these all type of duties are performed by the bank for the development of the economy. This is the end of the topic. We are going to start the new topic, recent banking sector reforms, in the next lecture. Thank you. Have a good day. Stay home, stay safe.